The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 433, of which the Honorable Hakkem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212. The Honorable Kevin MacCarthy of the state of California has received 201. The Honorable Bryon of the state of Florida has received 20. With one member-elect recorded as present. No member-elect having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast, a speaker has not been elected. For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I rise to nominate Kevin MacCarthy as Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
Now, why would I, as a conservative, as an Army Ranger, business guy, the first guy that the House Freedom Caucus backed in a congressional race, why would I nominate Kevin MacCarthy to become the next Speaker of the House? Why would Jim Jordan? Why would other conservatives like Thomas Massie, Jim Banks, Kevin Hern, and others support Kevin MacCarthy as Speaker of the House? You know, something in our nature as humans causes us to dehumanize others when we engage in conflict. Dehumanizing others makes it easier to ascribe bad motives and to engage in the fight. But it also makes it harder to understand one another. As actions push further disagreement, arguments tend to escalate rather than resolve. We're on the precipice of such a destructive argument today. I plead with all of my Republican colleagues, let cooler, more rational heads prevail. Let us unite as Republicans to elect the next Speaker of the House. Unlike Democrats, nearly every Republican at least campaigns on some form of smaller, more accountable government. Once we get here, the bipartisan consensus keeps growing a bigger, less accountable government. The American people know that the status quo is broken, that we've become less free, less safe, and more burdened by debt. The American people are sick and tired of it, and they keep sending us reinforcements. Reinforcements that today help make up our small majority. But a majority is only a majority if we actually work together. Now, lots of people back home don't trust anyone in this town. Perhaps we would be wise to listen to them and some wisdom from Ronald Reagan. Trust, but verify. Trust is a fragile condition and easily broken. As I've listened to my friends, 20 of whom have opposed Kevin MacCarthy as Speaker of the House, and others, the root issue is this: they do not trust Kevin MacCarthy. What can heal that divide? Right now, there are a lot of colleagues that don't trust 20 or more of my fellow Republicans. Right now, though we remain divided, an actual majority of the House Freedom Caucus members do support Kevin MacCarthy. This summer, a unified House Freedom Caucus started the negotiations with a proposal for new rules, a different way to govern that empowers committees and regular members. We proposed that a set of tools could be structured to make trust more verifiable and allow recourse if that trust is ever broken. Following the election, Kevin MacCarthy engaged in that negotiation. He led the conference to adopt substantive reforms that will make our majority more effective. Let me list some of them. Andrew Clyde's proposal to restore public access to the Capitol. Lauren Boebert's proposal to reduce the linkage between the NRCC and the steering committee process. Gary Palmer's proposal to cap spending on suspension bills. Ralph Norman's proposal to limit leadership reports and make conference more about engaging all members. Chip Roy's proposal to provide a 5-day notice for suspension votes. Dan Bishop's proposal in privileged resolutions. Scott Perry's proposal for additional conference meetings ahead of key votes. Bob Good's proposal on standalone appropriations bills. Andy Biggs' proposal limiting suspension waivers from committees. Chip Roy's proposal to make co-sponsored amendments in order. Affirm 72-hour publication of bills before calling for a recorded vote. An end to proxy voting. An end to remote participation in committee work by members of Congress. The Holman Rule. An end to the Gephardt Rule. Cut go instead of pay go. An end to unblocked suspension votes. A major reform worked out with Morgan Griffin, what we hope to call the Griffin Rule, on single subject bills subject to germaneness points of order and amendment. Diverse viewpoints on every committee. Lastly, a church-style commission was added to the Judiciary Committee focused on the abuses our own big government has unjustly collaborated with big business and big tech to silence, persecute, or even prosecute our fellow citizens. As Thomas Massey pointed out, Elon Musk bought a crime scene. Now that we know and the public knows, the question is, what in the hell are we going to do about it? Well, this select committee answers that question with oversight and leadership by our most effective member, my friend and colleague, the future chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan. We, as Republicans, are a big and diverse conference. The real question goes back to strategy. Can we accept incremental progress? Can we work for a victory, one first down at a time? Or can we only accept the high-risk trick plays? Can we set about the hard work of winning debates with our colleagues, as we have done through this process? Can we take a win every now and then and give hope to the forgotten men and women of America who no longer believe this place, this people's house, cares about them? Or having achieved nearly every concession that we've asked for, including a motion to vacate the chair with one privilege resolution, does it really boil down to this, that 20 or more of my colleagues will never trust Kevin MacCarthy as Speaker? I feel at this time we risk a worse outcome if we cannot unite behind the man that has helped us achieve these substantive reforms. Reforms that offer all of us, this whole body, hope for change in this broken status quo. Reforms that our voters have demanded, reforms that we've worked hard together to achieve, and finally, reforms that we risk forfeiting if we do not work together as Republicans to elect the next Speaker of the House. Now's the time for deeds, not words, and I nominate Kevin MacCarthy for Speaker of the House. I humbly ask for your support.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate Hakkem Jeffries as Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
Madam Clerk, the lead vote getter in the last 4 tallies, Democrats are united behind a speaker who will work to codify the right to seek an abortion into law. Like all of us, Hakkem has spoken about consistently the disastrous Dobbs decision. He has spoken time and time again that it is well past time to codify Roe v. Wade into law, and he knows that young women should not grow up in a world with fewer rights than their parents and grandparents. He will ensure that reproductive freedom is enshrined into law. So that's why, Madam Clerk, as chair of the Democratic caucus, I am directed by the caucus to present for election Hakkem Jeffries, representative-elect from New York, as our next speaker.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Colorado rise?
I rise to nominate Congressman Byron Donalds.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
I rise today to nominate Byron Donalds, my friend, an amazing man of Florida, an amazing leader, someone who almost even took leadership here in our Republican Party and came very close in doing so, and it was a very brave run that he took. He's a man who understands what tough times look like and has come out of those tough times even stronger, more liberated, and as a leader. Now, we just heard from my respected colleague from Ohio, and he stated some amazing rules that we have been able to get an agreement on, I think. We were threatened pretty heavily in conference, saying if we don't do as we ought, then some of those rules may just go away. But even naming the germaneness rule, which is really fantastic, after Morgan Griffith, well, that was our idea too. My question is, why didn't the supposed leader of the Republican Party present these rules? Why were we fought so hard on these rules? The barrier that still stands in the way of these rules is the structure that prevents us from rolling over. And as my friend from Chip Roy stated, we need the tools and the leadership to do our job correctly. And I believe that Byron Donalds is the man to lead us to that path of getting America on track and uniting the Republican Party. My colleagues and I have worked tirelessly for months to build consensus, to negotiate in good faith, to help unify our party on border security, energy security, debt reduction, term limits, earmarks, among other many common sense policies. But too often our efforts have fallen on deaf ears. Our border is wide open. Inflation is out of control. The Senate just passed $1.7 trillion without our input. So let me be clear. Our job is not to coronate the biggest fundraiser or rubber stamp the status quo or keep on going along to get along. It's to use our votes to elect a speaker who will enable us to get our country back on track. Getting the job done is what we were elected to do, and that starts with having a leader who supports Republican principles, builds consensus, and has a proven track record of success. Byron Donalds is that leader. Republicans, including many moderates, have been impressed by Byron Donalds. They're impressed by his ability to work together. They respect his leadership. We see him as someone who can communicate what we are all wanting to do in this House to Americans. And he represents so much more than just his district in Florida. Many millions of Americans all over this nation praise the work and the leadership of Byron Donalds. So let's work together. Let's stop with the campaign smears and tactics to get people to turn against us, even having my favorite president call us and tell us we need to knock this off. I think it actually needs to be reversed. The president needs to tell Kevin MacCarthy that, sir, you do not have the votes, and it's time to withdraw. And with that, I yield. Thank you. I yield.
Yield back.
Yes, ma'am.
The reading clerk will again call the roll. Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. McCarthy. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. McCarthy. Allen. McCarthy. Allred. Jeffries. Amadei. McCarthy. Armstrong. Armstrong. Arrington. McCarthy. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. McCarthy. Bacon. McCarthy. Baird. McCarthy. Balderson. McCarthy. Ballot. Jeffries. Banks.